All right, we're live. Welcome back, everybody. I think we're live. I'm going to check to make sure we're live. I think we are. Yes. Okay, good. And everybody's got their audio off for YouTube, like last time, right? So, anyway, thank you guys for joining me again. We have almost the same person. Okay, who's got it on? Lenny.
I just opened the box and turned it off right away. Calm down.
Okay. Cathy, you were the star of the show last week. Thank you so much for joining us again. Hunt, Lenny, you guys were awesome as always. And we have Claire, who is also a matchmaker and dating coach from Ontario, Canada. Well, Toronto, right? I can never say that right. Toronto.
Yeah.
People say different, right?
So New York differently in like 15 places of New York. So does
Right.
whatever.
If you mess up Toronto, just say sorry at the end of it, and you'll be okay.
Just say sorry, and we'll accept it.
Well, that's every time I see Claire's name, I'm like, it helps, remind me that she's Canadian. It's Claire, eh?
Exactly.
No, but that's more the A. That's more kind of British Columbia, though, isn't that the west coast of Canada more?
We say it everywhere, honestly. Like, I do say it. I am very much a Canadian stereotype in some ways. So I catch myself saying it pretty regularly.
That's funny. I love it. So anyway, we have a lot to talk about. Again, I have all my notes because I will forget everything, as you guys know. So I don't know about you guys, but I've had a bit of a week. And I actually announced that I'm quitting because I do that every few months. With difficult clients. So that's kind of what I wanted to first talk about with you guys. How do you not only deal with the difficult clients, but I will tell you exactly what happened, and then we can kind of talk about it. So what we do as matchmakers to kind of give people a little bit of a perspective, when we have a client, we start looking through our database. We go through our people of the database, the people that used to be our clients, anybody single we know. We turn to our other matchmakers, other dating coaches. We find people everywhere, right? And now with COVID, we're not doing singles events. We're not getting out as much. So it's been challenging. So when I started to reach out to either past clients, males, and this has always happened, and it never happened with women because women are very gracious. But when I reach out to men who either used to be my clients or I know they're single and that I've asked
That's where that comment came from.
Okay. Right. So let me finish.
I understand the backstory.
Let me finish. First, yeah. So first it was like, okay, hey, I have great ladies for you. I would love for you to meet them. I'll either send a profile or, hey, can we get on the phone? I would like to tell you more about it. And I will get things like, yeah, no, I'm not interested. So then my response is, okay, well, you got to give me more than that. You can't just say not interested. You got to tell me why. You got to tell me a reason. I need to know. And for next time, then they'll just go into a rant of, well, she's not skinny enough, or she's too skinny, or she's too far away, or she's not, just BS excuses. I know it's BS. Instead of saying, first of all, thank you. Thank you for thinking of me, right? Because in other parts of the world, especially where I'm from, it's actually a positive thing when someone comes to you and says, oh my gosh, you're such a great catch. I have someone for you, or I want to set you up. To them and people in the United States, I feel like it's like a taboo thing. Like, God forbid anybody knows I'm single. How dare you ask me if I'm single, if I want to meet people? So I wonder, if I was a man matchmaker like you, Hunt, would they say the same things to me? Would they feel like they can be so? It's this patriarchal society that we live in still. I wonder if they would still treat me the same way if I was a man. So you tell me what you've.
I had this conversation with I think her name was Eva, a matchmaker in Bulgaria.
Yes, I know Eva. Yeah.
Yeah. She was over at one of the matchmaking conferences, and we were sitting down and we were talking about it. And she had this very rich client and was very demanding of her time, and and changed his mind all of the time, because the way that she had set up the relationship was that she was working for him. And so because he was powerful and used to people working for him, he treated her like an employee. Whereas I said to her, I said, can he go anywhere else other than you? And she said, no. So there's nobody else that can do what you do. She said, no. Like, you have all of the power in this relationship. But a lot of times, and I don't know anything about how you set it up relationship-wise with your clients, Julia, but a lot of times women will not necessarily have their shoulders back and be like, this is how it's going to go, for fear of being called bossy or all of the, the things that we know. And those narcissists or those powerful men will see that and, get in there. So, I mean, we can never, I was just talking today about, like, we've all been burned, but with experience, what we just try to do is see those further ahead of time than we do. Like, matchmaker, she's like, don't take anyone on that you don't immediately have 3 people in your head for right there. If you don't, it's just going to be a problem. But I also understand we have to make money. We have to keep the lights on. We want to service the people we do. And, we also come from the fact that we want to do good for people. And we assume that other people feel the same way. And I'm fine being trod on sometimes for getting hurt for that. And it's fine. But not all people see that necessarily. And it does get rough out there. It's rough. We're dealing with people's raw emotions, and it gets rough.
Well, their emotions get in the way is when I start to say, you're a chunky middle-aged white dude, and you're telling me this beautiful woman is not good enough for you, is not pretty enough for you. Have you looked at yourself in the mirror? And that's when all that awfulness starts to come out, that nastiness starts to come out, because I called them out on their bullshit. I called them out.
As well you should. Yeah.
Right. But then, in a nice way at first, but then it doesn't stop. And then it becomes abusive towards me. So, and Claire, you saw my post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, and this is sort of like to Hunt's point, I've become a big fan of doing quite a fair amount of discussion ahead of time before taking on clients, because I have had, I've had clients of all stripes who have been challenging, but I would say I have had a higher quantity of men who don't necessarily, and I mean, one of the differences between, some of the other matchmakers I know and me is that my prices are not especially high. So I have clients of all, financial means, but certainly I tend to have a lot of people who are like average moderate income earners who, they're average moderate income earners. They're somewhat educated. They're perfectly lovely, fine people, but they are expecting, a Rhodes Scholar model. And I tend to spend a lot of time. I have an intake questionnaire. I do phone calls with people, which I like to keep them under 20 minutes, half an hour, but have at times been an hour, which in and of itself is a red flag, where this is free, but I am able to identify the people who are just not living in the real world, or who have incredibly high expectations that don't match with what they're able to put out. And I'm not, I don't believe like, oh, you're a 6 and you're looking for a 10. I don't want to reduce people to that level.
Which is fine. It's just going to take me more time to find that.
And that's more money.
Okay, here we go. What's happening, Kathy? Well, I want to hear from you, Kathy, but what I was going to say is that I'm very picky about who I take on. Mm-hmm. So I stopped taking on these type of people. I'm talking about when I'm reaching out to someone for a match, that I have someone for them. I have a paying client and I'm looking for a match for them. I'm not asking them to pay me a dime.
Because people don't know. They feel that there's a catch. Because there's not.
Even if I tell them there's no catch, do you want to go out with this person?
Dude, I had to go up to dudes in New York City and be like, I want to use you as a piece of meat. Like, what? I'm like, I have a female client.
And they still pay
me all I need you to do is go on a date. Like, no money? No. Like, she's hot? Yes. She's rich? Yes. What's the catch? Like, I know.
There's
No catch. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fulfilling her contract. Let's look at
Yes.
it through that. It would still be difficult because they just felt we're all kind of a little bit, if we don't understand something, we're afraid that there's a catch or being swindled or something.
Right. Yeah. So, well, that's the hardest part. That's why, this week I was like, I think I'm just done. I've been doing this for too long, and I feel like I just don't have anything to give. And my problem is that I'm no longer politically correct about it. So to speak. I'm no longer nice about it. I'm no longer how I used to be if this was 5-10 years ago. No problem. I understand. I'll let you know if I have anyone else. In the meantime, if you want to, start again, go and pay me. I just go off now.
What about you, Lenny? Do you ever feel burnt out as a comic? I can feel that would be a rough time sometimes to weather.
Well, since there's been much comedy in the last year, I don't remember that feeling very well. But I do. You know what? On the cruise ships, we did a lot of shows in a row. So I always did runs. I would book 3 or 4 month runs, and I would do I do like 120, 140 shows in that time. And then I'd be tired. I'd be burnt out. I want to take a break for 2 weeks. But I accepted the work. That's my question about the matchmaking. I don't understand. Here's my question. Are these guys that are paying you as a service that are reacting that way towards you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. So that's what I was saying. And I was going to ask you the same question. So here's the scenario. I have female clients that have paid me, right. Matchmaking, online dating, the whole thing. And I reach out to you and say, hey, Lenny, I have a great client for you. Would you like to meet her? And I send you her profile. We talk about it. We discuss it. What would your reaction be? If this is whether it's exactly your type or not, you might be exactly her type. So my first priority is to my client, right? But of course, I try to match it as best as I can on both sides. So that's what I do. I would call you up and just say, hey, I have a great client for you. So that's the situation.
Well, I guess it's got to be hard for you because your business is so personal. You know what I mean?
Right. It's hard not to take it personal.
Right. It's your clients. It's personal because they're looking for someone to share their life with. For you, it's personal because you're getting involved in their lives and looking at what they want. And what I'm going to say is probably easier said than done. Is to take emotion and personal out of it and just look at it from a business aspect. If you go up to a guy who isn't paying you anything and you offer and you go, hey, I have someone you're interested in, and his reaction is, well, she's too skinny, she's this, she's that, then don't go back to that guy.
That's it. Yeah. No, I'm done with them. Clearly.
Yeah, that's all I can think of in that scenario because I'm different because I'm also polite. So I would be like, no, thank you, I'm not interested, or yes, maybe. You know what I mean? I'm amazed how some people are just not polite, and also they're taking for granted for the fact that you're a matchmaker. So they're just like, when you come to them, there's no money involved. They also know they're not paying you for anything, and they, as far as the catch goes,
get in the game.
Yeah, so their catch to them is that they're giving you something. They're doing you a favor. That's
how they feel, right? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
If you saw the text messages, I'm like, no, buddy, I'm doing you a favor. You're still single,
Right.
But,
which every guy is like, what are you trying to say? Like, what?
Right.
What? Maybe I'm what? No, I've got like an awesome girlfriend in Canada. Her name's Claire.
It's me.
Yeah.
But like to Lenny's point, it can mean there are a lot of guys that aren't as secure as they could be, and those just the way it's approached or the way that they just are going to react to it can accidentally be hitting their pain points and making them lash out erratically. I mean, we're all also losing our social muscles. Like it's been a year, man. Like they've atrophied because it's almost like being anonymous when the internet came out. Like, I don't give a shit because you can't come to my house and beat me up. So
well, I can, but
with a mask,
risk getting COVID on the way there. So make it worth it.
But to kind of go back on what we were talking about, what Lenny was saying, and also to that point, I've actually gotten a lot of questions this week about why have I not set you up yet, Lenny? Do you want to answer that?
Oh God,
I have tried.
I'm not actively pursuing anyone to be set up with. I guess I tell you that all the time. I hear this comment when I have you on my show. I hear the same thing. Everyone's like, Julie, you need to set Lenny up, and I'm like, no,
Right.
I'm good. I'm just not looking for anyone right now.
And I'm trying. I wish I could show you how many people keep asking me. I'm like, I would love to.
It's like the ant syndrome. Like you see like a wounded man or woman, and it's like, I've got the perfect woman for you. Oh my God, it'll be beautiful.
Well, I went through, that was when I used to do a bit about that. Right when I got divorced, everybody runs out and goes, we need to get you someone else. And I'm like, that's such an empty way to look at it if you think about it. You know what I mean?
Like, I had that too. Like,
15 your marriage gone, we need to fill that void with someone else.
Or like when someone breaks up with you and the next day they're like, your girlfriend sucks. Yeah, I hate her. Let's go find you someone different. It's like, I still kind of like her. I know that we're the, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Kathy.
Kathy's going time out. Kathy, why don't you just throw out a saying?
Okay, Lenny,
Yes.
Lenny,
Okay.
this is the deal. Feminine energy women pick with their ears. They like what they're hearing. You're funny. Do you know how many women I meet that say, Kathy, I want to meet someone who's really funny, who has a sense of humor. Okay, so
Make me laugh.
yeah, and so that's the attraction.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
But he's not interested. Like, he's just not in that mind frame right now. He's just
Everything
not.
when it comes down to it. You know, you could meet the perfect person at the wrong time. And it just like, you know, there's 3 or 4 women that I've probably met over the course of my life that were probably, you know, marriage material, but I wasn't ready for it. And, you know, and I worried that there's something wrong with me, that I didn't like them as much as I could have. So like, and I know that Lenny's going through a lot, especially with kids and stuff too. And it's like thinking of like where you want your bandwidth these days. And we're all like walking around at a 9.3 anyways. Yeah. So
the unpredictability of it is so, because also remember I travel a lot for a living. So if I go back to work right away, I'm on the road 3 weeks out of the month. You know what I mean? I'm gone most of the time, which is one of the big reasons why I never pursued a serious monogamous relationship with somebody when I was on ships, because I had no interest in being in a long distance relationship. I see people in them all the time, and I'm just not attracted.
It doesn't work.
Thing. I'm not a fan. Yeah, I don't like it. I know guys that do it, but I would feel miserable. I would be lonely.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And eventually they won't work unless one of you moves or stops the way your job is or whatever. But you still got to get laid. I mean, and in fact, I was going to talk about the fact that.
Well, that's not hard. That's like.
So I was going to say, did you guys know that you actually? I really hope my kids are not, or at least one of my kids is not watching. I know sometimes they stalk me on these things, but
you know that my 3-year-old daughter is going to, when she's 18, find this old video.
Probably, which is why we're going to talk about.
Assume that they will.
We're going to get all the dirt on you, Hunt, in a second, and then we're going to talk about it. I was just going to say that, did you know that you're
That's Grandpa Hunt?
Shh, I'm going to start muting you people. You're supposed to have at least 3 orgasms a week for a woman. I don't care about the men, but for a woman, medically speaking, you're supposed to have 3 orgasms a week.
Who said that? Where's this? Where'd you get that? The internet?
It's actually from a medical doctor. And I emailed her this week. I want her to be on my show because she's actually a medical doctor. And she says, if you don't, it is, a couple of things. Either there's something wrong. It could be low blood pressure, high blood pressure. It could be something with your heart. It could be diabetes. There's multitude of things that could be if you're not, or you're just mentally not into it, or you're with the wrong partner. So it doesn't have to be sex, just orgasm.
Well, what if you're asexual and you don't feel like having orgasms?
I don't understand that. And I don't know if I truly believe that. Explain.
Okay, what if you've gone through genital mutilation as a woman and you don't have the ability to have orgasm?
Yeah, so there's a medical reason. Right. But what do you mean when you say by asexual? Is that really, I understand what it means, but.
Yeah, so, it's like it's an umbrella. There are many different types. Like there are aromantic, asexual. Then there are people who only feel sexual feelings for others or even feel sexual at all when they have like a romantic attraction or like something that's sort of under the demisexual or demi-romantic umbrella. They're people whose orientations are like that. And so it's whether or not they like solo sex, whether or not they like sex with other people. For some people, orgasms aren't really on the menu, and that's cool. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean anything about their health. It's just their desire. It's the same way, like,
would it be better? Maybe, yeah, get the hormones flowing and things, but like, I don't think they're gonna end up looking like the crypt keeper or anything.
Yeah, and also like from a physiological perspective, people who have prostates, so people with penises, are actually, there is a lot of scientific research to back up and like peer-reviewed studies that technically like if you have a penis, having an orgasm a number of times a week is a good thing because it lowers the likelihood of prostate cancer.
Pushes the system out, keeps the plumbing.
Right. Well, this is good for women.
You know what? There are more women with penises and more men with vaginas than ever before. So it's not what you have. It's not your partner.
Exactly. That's why I said people with penises, because we're just. Yeah, but if you got a prostate, if you got a penis, if that's something you're doing, then actually, yeah. But I think in general, if you are a person who wants to have orgasms, prioritizing your pleasure, whether it's with a partner or by yourself, is a really good thing, especially right now in the pandemic. Like, it has been a golden time for people to
practice
their hobbies. Yeah, and I mean, like,
right.
If you're home with a partner, or if you have, depending on where you are, you have a COVID bubble hookup person, like a regular safer sex partner, then I don't know, we're all bored. We can't go to shows. We can't go to art galleries. Might as well try something new sexually. And if you're home alone, maybe treat yourself, get a new toy, maybe, clear your evening to decide you're going to take, this Friday evening off of your usual Zoom hang and just like romance yourself. I think it's kind of
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. But according to her, and I really want her to come on and talk to us about this, hopefully one day she will, is that she says for women, it has to be at least 3 times a week, alone, with a partner, whatever, because otherwise she says it is not okay. That
what is okay?
Medically, emotionally, mentally, it should be that you are in that mind frame, that you can, because it's all mental, right? I mean, you can actually
You're not talking necessarily about the physiological response to the body. You're talking about maybe the time that you are in that headspace of romance, lust, and love.
Yes and no, because you can actually have an orgasm without touching yourself. So
I had dreams. I was a teenager. Okay. I am aware.
Well, do you think it was a mistake where our hands are?
What do you mean?
Our hands are where are your hands located?
Mine right
on
here.
My arms. Oh, so okay.
I don't get it. Explain, please.
We're perfectly aerodynamically. I can't even say the word. We're aerodynamically. We're created to masturbate. Okay, look, it's right there. Your hands are right there.
Right.
That's the point.
Okay, that's what you're saying. Yeah, no.
Nobody's got hairy palms here, so we're all good.
I
think people should talk more about it with their kids. We should not make it. We should make it okay. It should not be a
the amount of women that I ran into, fully adult women that had never had an orgasm, boggled my mind. I fully understood the reasons behind it. It still boggled my mind. Just, I mean, self-knowledge in of what is in your own head, what does your own body do, and I understand that we get a lot of conservatism or religion added on top of things as well too, but I wholeheartedly agree with you, Julia. Like, I just wish there was we're getting there. This will be the first generation raised entirely on porn. We're having the ability, like mine was the penthouse, my friend's dad with a penthouse under the bed. That's all we had, down by the stream.
Yeah.
You had to go get the porn. Now you can carry the porn with you.
It's everywhere.
Find it anywhere.
But that's the thing. I really wish more people and more parents not only prepare their kids, but also talk to them honestly about it, that it's okay, that this is normal, not to stop their kids from playing with themselves and, trying new things and trying to see what they like. But I still think there's so many parents that, this is not okay. Don't be touching yourself. Don't be doing that. It's
Well,
not
just
okay to
people in
touch yourself
general
in
don't have good
public.
communication styles. That we've been taught. I mean, if you want to take men specifically, simplistically, have been taught to push down their emotions, and then by the end of time, don't even recognize that they have it sometimes. So. I do like the fact that that's progressing, Lenny. I mean, think about what high school was when we were in high school and where like the conversations seem to be now. I'm happy that
the generation of parents and grandparents we grew up with, that our role models, the people we looked up at, were that whole.
Right.
I mean, we're still coming out of that generation.
And our cultures too, and our churches. And
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Good to look at a huge generational change over the next few years as these kids are growing up, and I don't want to say the older generations are dying off, but there's a lot of older ideas that are they're disappearing. I mean, look at the way politics have gone the last few years. The older people are kind of working their way out, and the younger people are moving their way in, and the world has changed so much in the last 5 years. Just 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be interesting to see how the new generation deal with things too. I do think that it's a cancel culture, as we know. It's a lot of, being careful what we're saying and being very careful.
It's a consequence culture.
Yeah, but it's also people. Yes, of course. But I think it's okay for men to be more emotional. It's okay for men to be more sensitive, which I love. I love having boys. This is all I tell them to do is it's okay to cry and it's okay to be emotional. So it's going to be very interesting. And, speaking of men, the whole topic today that I wanted to talk about was this whole idea of, thinking like a man, dating like a man, which, that whole Steve Harvey book that came out years ago. I can't say that I agree with a lot of it. Manning Up. Okay. Don't know that book. Tell us about it.
Adorable child.
But that's my point, is that are we still thinking this way? Should women be thinking more like men and dating more like men? And that's why I'm going to bring on a special guest today. She just joined us. Let me patch her through. Do people say that anymore? Let me patch you through.
It works.
Let me patch you through to the videotape telephone.
It makes you look like you know exactly what you're doing. Looks like
I have no. If you didn't text me earlier today, like, hey, you might want to text me. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying.
I still find myself saying, "Get it on tape."
Yes.
I see that all the time.
Yes. Or what I've been saying too is, videotape it.
Yeah, I say tape all the time.
My son's like, what? Speaking of my son, I ordered a drink like 20 minutes ago and he's still not here with it. I don't know what the hell's going on. We're supposed to be drinking every time Cathy does her sayings. She's not doing her sayings.
I gotta go grab from upstairs. I'll be right
Okay. All right. So I'm going to patch Rochelle through. So there she is. Welcome, Rochelle.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay.
We hear you great. So talking about dating like a man, thinking like a man, I think you, in a good way, you're probably one of the only people I know that is actually not only, you have your own way of dating. Let's just put it that way. So I would love for you to share with our viewers, with Lenny, Cathy, Claire at Hunt someday when he'll be back. You approach dating differently. You approach men differently. You approach relationship differently.
Well, I don't necessarily think that I have a different approach. I just can relate to men more. So I think I'm just more relatable to men. I'm like a girly girl looking like a girl, but I think like a man. Just, I don't know. I've always thought like this my whole life. So I don't really have an approach. I'm just me, and I wouldn't say part man, but my brain is more masculine.
Well, but okay, yeah, right. But give us like maybe a specific advice for women, especially because you know me, we've known each other for a long time. I come to vent to you all the time about my clients, my female clients, my male clients, everybody. And you have great advice for women.
Well, I just think that girls are more emotional and sensitive, and not everyone. And everything I speak is generalizations. Most women overthink everything and they just worry about everything. And for me, I'm just myself, and it's like take it or leave it, basically. So.
Right. I mean, that's literally how you are. Okay, wait, where's my drink? I don't know.
But on the same note, I feel like, guys like to be the man in the relationship, and they
My
want.
drink is here. Yay, sorry.
That's
your
the
drink.
son right
Waiter, say
there.
hello.
Oh, you like it?
Good boy.
Say hello.
Good job, son.
Good job, Nick.
Go over it.
So I
There's
feel
my
like
$20. Go on.
So I feel like guys still want to be the man, and I always try to let them lead the way, and I like that. I like men to order my food. I just like that. I think it's hot. So, but I'm still a girl, and I still have my opinion, but I'm just not. I don't just overthink everything, and I'm not emotional only when I need to be. So I don't know.
That's why it's hard for guys. No, I love you, and that's like as a guy listening, you're like, I don't understand what just happened.
We're all androgynous. You know what androgynous?
Yeah.
We're all androgynous. We're all masculine and we're all feminine. It's what we do with it and when we do with it.
Exactly. I think I let them, rule the world, but really I'm the decision maker here, but it's okay. And I just feel like guys don't want to hear every single detail, and you just kind of get to the point. So I just kind of get to the point and I only give details when it needs to have details.
Guys want to solve problems. They don't want to hear us go on and on and on. What's the problem? How can I fix it?
Well, I say on both sides too. Like, depending on what study you look at, women use 30,000 words a day, men use 10,000 words a day. We're just, again, generalizing.
Yeah.
But I say to both of them, it doesn't have to be here, but dudes talk a little bit more. Girls maybe talk a little bit less. And again, completely overgeneralizing on that.
Right.
But, try to find that middle ground. No one should hold any position without, trying to come towards it. But yeah, to Rochelle's point, men sort of live in the now. We have a lot of, we are statement driven, more logic driven, and women tend to be.
Yeah, we're definitely like A to B to C to D. We're like,
exactly.
do this and this.
And this is what I say. That's right. Like this. Guys see something, they want it, they go like this. Because that's the easy path of least resistance. But what I say is, imagine if that were a heart rate monitor. What would be going on right there? We would be dead. Because
they need the girl, the fluff.
Because there's no energy.
Right.
There's no drama. There's no interest. It's all predictable. It's all expected.
That's why we need one feminine energy and one masculine energy. We need complements.
So for me, that's what I feel. I feel like I have masculine energy, but I naturally give off feminine energy. So it kind of works for me. So
yeah, and that's ultimately what we should aspire to. And I would say, like, the danger of like the advice, date like a man, and like, so Steve Harvey, I will say, love watching Family Feud.
Right.
Don't love his dating content so much, because I feel like that advice given to women just says, like a lot of who you are, a lot of you being potentially more feminized, so more verbose, more communicative, more emotional. And it's like, don't really do that. What we should be saying is everyone should kind of date like everyone, because, you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about men and women, and there are a lot of situations where, people don't identify as men or women, or,
it's when you negotiate. It's when you negotiate. Do you want to be the respected one? Or do you want to be the cherished one?
And ideally, in all relationships, we're a little bit of all of them. So I think what we can do is say, for people who want to date, people with more masculine energy, being aware of what that is, and being aware to maybe when you can, engage with that, when you can play around with that, and people who want to date people with feminine energy, to be aware of that and engage with that. Like, if you're in a situation where, assuming we're talking about a man and a woman, assuming we're talking about heterosexual.
This is for gays, lesbians, and straight. I teach which energy do you want.
I don't think it goes the same way for gay and lesbian relationships. I mean, because you may have masculine energy. You may have.
They'll bang heads. The similars repel, complements attract. It's like
Ideally, we all have a little bit of everything, and whether because there's like butch femme dynamics, there's top bottom dynamics, there are all sorts of dynamics like that occur in straight relationships too, but definitely in LGBTQ relationships. And I would say there's a fair amount of gender diversity in the LGBTQ community, but ideally there's a fair amount of gender diversity in straight relationships too, where I think about my husband, and Yeah, at times he really does embody that like masculine energy, that masculine sort of like decision-making process. And I am perhaps the chattier, more emotional one. But he was raised by a bunch of women. He was raised by a social worker. So he understands and values emotions. He knows how to empathize. He knows how to think critically in an emotional way. And that is valuable. And I know that sometimes if I just like vomit my emotions on him and kind of, act in a way that he doesn't really know how to understand, then I can play around with that. So it's about being cognizant of who you are, whether that is masculine or feminine, or whether that is any number of other dynamics.
Well, I think that comes down to what Rochelle said very first, and I think is the most important thing in dating, and we actually touched on during the last show, is know who you are. Just know exactly who you are and embrace that. Once you do that, you know who you're interested in. It's a lot easier to focus on who you're interested in and who you're going to be with, because you already know what your mindset is. Do you know what I mean?
And the more you know who you are, the better you'll relate with other people.
For me, I think
that's the problem with a lot of people. Sorry, Rochelle, I was just saying that's a problem with a lot of women. And what I see happen with a lot of women is when I meet someone, they become whatever it is the man wants them to be, whatever that man is looking for. And it's always, they're kind of morphing into a different person, or they're morphing into more of what the man is.
Well, I've seen guys do that quite a bit too.
I think it's about confidence.
I just wanted to jump in, Julie. I actually finally managed to find one of the masculine strengths and feminine strengths, the list, to list for some of the people. Examples of masculine strength: authoritative, certain, debonair, spatially skilled, self-assured, courageous, goal-oriented, active, protective, physical, black and white, easygoing, competitive, witty, funny, outrageous, lean, and muscular. Then there's the contrapositive feminine strengths: tact, sociability, sensitivity, intuition, humbleness, verbally skilled, compassion, eloquence, sympathy, grace, charisma, attentiveness, caring, empathy, carefulness, soft and curvy. These are generalizations. It's just examples of what some people have put down as what examples of what masculine strengths and feminine strengths are. And like to everyone's point, we should all have a mix of both of them. What we want to make sure we don't have is an overabundance of the opposite. Mm-hmm. Because then that is just kind of dissonant. It's not congruent. But so yeah, thanks.
So for me, I think number one is confidence. So you walk in the room, there's going to be 100 pretty women, and it doesn't matter. If you feel great about yourself, it goes to the aura, goes to everybody, and that's what I think they take in the most is the confidence. So I'm super confident. I think I'm the greatest thing. I'm not the greatest thing, but I think I am. So everyone thinks I am too.
You are. And that's the thing and that's why I wanted you to come on and talk to me for so long, is because I have learned so much from you, just as a woman, as a person, as a matchmaker too, and your advice is always like, don't overthink it. Don't overthinking. Don't you're overthinking it. You're writing too much. You're saying too much. You're doing too much.
Your text messages are like a paragraph, and I have like 2 words or a sentence at the most.
But see, for a long time, that really I wasn't used to that in a female relationship. With the girlfriends, you're not used to that. You're used to writing letters to each other, and then she would write back, "Okay. What do you mean, okay? Like, did you read yes, I did." And she's a fast reader too. So, I'll write like a whole thing and she'll be like, "Okay, I'll get back to you." And it's like, wait, there's no way you could have read all of that. Yes, I did. And that's all you have to say. She's like, "No, cool. That's cool. I'm good with that." So I've learned how to communicate with my male clients better just by knowing her as well. And I've seen her go, dating and everything. So it's been a very interesting, eye-opening experience for me, because I've always hated that whole book when it came out, of Steve Harvey's book. I love the movies, or I think there's only been one, right? It was really funny. But the book, I can't say that I agreed with a lot of it, but there's a good point.
Because it can equally be think like a woman, date like a woman. Why does it have to be this way?
Let's do that.
And to Claire's former point, why don't we just date like everybody, as opposed to like one or the other?
Right. No, and I think that it makes it easier when you can be yourself and not overthink, and just, there's no gameplay. But in a way, there's some, I feel like
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, it's like when you lie. You know what I mean? If you lie, it takes so much work to lie. Remember the lie, remember the layers, remember when you just tell the truth and you're being honest, it's simple. It never changes. You're on the same thread. it's
You're
more
relaxed.
Yeah, you're way relaxed. There's no stress. You're not going, what did I say? Oh my, what did I say yesterday? Fuck, I can't remember. What did I say? You're trying to remember. Wait a minute. Do I like meat? I don't like meat. I love meat. I'm vegan. No, I'm vegan today. I'm vegan. And so if you're just honest about yourself, it's just a lot easier.
And when you
My friends used to hide back in the day, like in the late 90s, when I was in Hoboken, like my friend would be like, yo, don't tell girls we play video games. It hasn't quite cracked that version of gamers yet. And I would be like, you want to come back and play Drunk Duck Hunt with me? And it worked so well. Everybody wants to play Drunk Duck Hunt. Like, who wouldn't want to play that? But it was just
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Remember the game Duck Hunt?
Yeah.
Duck Hunt on the original Nintendo.
Oh, Duck Hunt.
And the dog.
That's completely different.
It's right over there. Like, come over to my place, play Duck Hunt, and get drunk with me. And they were like, yes.
Yeah.
Do you really think,
it as opposed to kind of.
do you really think they wanted to? Do you really think they wanted to, or they just saw a good-looking dude and they're like, "Yeah, I'll go and do whatever you want me to do"?
Yeah,
Remember, when women drink, they knock out their feelings and they become more masculine. So be aware, guys. And when guys drink too much, they knock out their thinking part of the brain and they become more feeling-centered. And then don't
say the
forget about the hormones.
And they're a little stupid.
Wait, let's go back to what you said.
Because she was making some
I think when I drink, I'm more like a girl.
When you drink,
the phrase what's in the drunken man's lips is in the sober man's heart. It's not that we say things we don't mean. It's just things we mean that we wish we didn't say.
And
you know what? You'll never
I've
find
never called anybody sugar tits,
man.
or been anti-Semitic when I've been drunk,
because that's not who you are.
Yeah,
I tell jokes and hug people, really annoyingly, but still,
I can't say I've ever cried when I'm drunk or when I've been, I haven't been drunk that often.
Women become tough. We're tough. We knock out the feeling side of the brain and we're ready to. Remember that woman that you didn't remember, Lenny, that girl that got drunk on you? Remember you told us last time?
Yeah.
She got real territorial, didn't she? She wanted you to spend the night and everything, right?
Yeah,
and you were like, get me out of here.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that's not going to happen.
I don't know if it's for every woman because I do get more emotional. I start thinking more when I'm drinking for whatever reason. Most people just
lowers the inhibitions. It lowers the, lets it go a little bit.
Right.
Get
So,
out of her head.
My ex is pretty emotional when she's drunk.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, are your inhibitions linked to kind of traditional masculinity and femininity? If you are inhibiting yourself by pushing your masculinity, thinking like, I'm a man, I have to be masculine, then when you lower your inhibitions through alcohol, you're likely to come out with more emotions. Whereas
and the opposite with
because you're living a lie. That's why.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, if you are,
you're not my dad.
They get all drunk. I don't need any of this.
Exactly. And if if your true self is masculine and you lower your inhibitions, well, maybe you'll just get a little bit.
Let me tell a really embarrassing story about a time I blacked out at a wedding with my now wife. So
okay.
So I blacked out at this wedding. My only defense is that the wedding started at 10:30 a.m. And this was at 11 p.m. So it had at least
that's
been
pretty good. Wow, that's nice. 12
hours of drinking.
That's a long day.
So basically, it was like Hunt was found in his boxers sitting in the hallway of the hotel after my wife tried to put me to bed, and so my wife had to come back and get me. I still love the fact that the room that our room became the party room. They just kind of partied around me. Still love that I was hanging in there, but we were engaged at this time, and I just decided right now. Apparently, I don't know. I have any recollection of this. I'm going to marry this woman. No, honey.
So that's how you proposed.
We're already engaged, honey. We're already engaged. No. Right now, I've decided we're going to be married. So even when I heard that story, we all have things in our deepest, darkest areas of our brain that could come out at any time. But when I heard that that's what came out from me, that also helped me realize that this was the person that I was meant to be with. Right. But also, again, Hunt, blackout drunk, is professing his love for people. So I think it does bring a little bit of the personality, the latent personality, or maybe a personality that doesn't come out as much, or one maybe that you had to push down?
Well, I was gonna say right before that, I was just gonna ask if Lenny has any funny jokes about, you know, drinking and alcohol, and if he wants to give us any new material. In 50 years, we'll all be chicks. I've heard of this book. Okay, we're drinking.
This is for Lenny.
The Adam
Carolla. I can't stand that guy. I'm sorry.
I love that guy.
You know what? You have every right. You don't like anybody I like.
He's pretty self-aware.
He's just not funny. I mean, he might
I
be.
think he's hilarious.
I
love
know.
him. Yes,
My
absolutely.
brother listens to his podcast.
He's another guy that knows who he is and embraces who he is 100%. You know what I mean?
He does. He really does. Yeah, I read one of his first books, and I was like, I don't know. Like, it took me a while to get through it, but that was one of his first books. I don't know if he was trying to be funny or not. I just always assume, you know, if you're a comic, like, I want to laugh, you know, but I didn't laugh. So anyway, all right, wait. Len was going to tell us some jokes, no?
What? That's my intro. That's how you set me up. Is just make.
Next up, we've got Lenny on the stage. Lenny comes to us all the way from his bedroom. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the beautiful, the balding, and the gorgeous Lenny Schmidt, ladies and gentlemen.
Putting him on the spot.
I know this isn't a joke. I'm not gonna. I have some great drunk jokes on my last album. You guys should get that. But I have one story that I'll tell that I used to tell years ago that I haven't told in a long time. I don't even remember if I can remember that. But I remember I can remember all of it. It was a Halloween party. I was 19, and we went as me and my two buddies went as the Cinnamon Toast Crunch guys. Do you remember Cinnamon Toast Crunch? They used to have 3 chefs, not 1. There used to be 3, and they would jump out and go Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So I used to work in their kitchen, so I had all the chef gear. So we dressed up in chef gear and walked around all day long going Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I just kept getting drunker and drunker and drunker. And I got hammered and I passed out. And where I'm from, when you pass out, people write shit on you, like a lot of shit. They try all kinds of stuff. So they wrote dickhead on my forehead, and I got mustard in my ear, and I'm all covered up. And they wake me up, and we go to leave. And then I didn't know I had anything written on my head. And they go, let's go out to eat. And I go, okay. So we go to Denny's. I'm at Denny's all night with dickhead written on my forehead. Never looked, never said anything. Then on the way home, the cops pull us over. They get out. Really drunk at this point. The cop looks at me and goes, what the hell are you supposed to be? And I go, cinnamon.
Just
I
only needed to remember one line.
That's it. And my buddies left me hanging. They just stood there. I go, cinnamon. And the cop, I look at him, I point him and go, there. And I try to explain to the cop. He said, just shut up, get in the car. Like, all right.
Yeah, that's why people shouldn't drink. Kids drink. That's funny. Okay, what were we talking about before that? Before drinking and alcohol? Relationships, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Inhibitions that come
Claire,
out more when
I'm
you're
going to
drinking.
do a humble brag, Claire. You remember Datanomics?
Yes.
So he just came out with the second book, this one?
Yes, I saw.
And
Are you referenced? Oh, okay. Great.
I mean, it just says, Hunt Ethridge has been having similar conversations with his female clientele, men who were scared to approach girls before, even more scared now. But yay, first book mentioned.
That's awesome. But that's so true, because that's what I hear. I always, and we kind of touched on that last time, Cathy. You were talking about women downplaying, you know, their careers, their success, or whatever they are, because men are so intimidated. But is that right that women should be doing that because they're so intimidated to? If he's that much of a chicken,
no, it's not that they're intimidated. It's that a real man wants to give, protect, and cherish his woman. He doesn't want to compete with her. So if there's a guy on an airplane and he sees the woman with her laptop, you know, if she goes in to say, oh, I own this big company and I make millions of dollars, the guy, he's sitting next to her and he's like, well, you know, unless he's a Peter Pan, he's really good looking. He's like, oh, I want to hook up with her. She's got money. But if it's a real man and he owns a company, he's like, oh, I don't want to compete with her. Remember
that? He looks up, but she could imagine the same woman, laptop and all, owner, and she was like, hey, love your poodle. Like, I love dogs. Can you balance the feminine with the powerful at the same time?
Relatable. She's asking relatable.
No.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think we should all lead with relatable.
All right, here we go. Okay, you ready? Okay, here's the 4 C's, okay? Talk to Cathy for information. You got to have chemistry. That's the lust. You got to be compatible. Do you have the same wants and not wants? And finally, communication. You get it in talking and touching. So I teach people how to negotiate what they want and what they don't want. That's the whole deal. That's it. Now, if you just have chemistry and you have communication, you negotiate a trick. You have sex with this person. You could have a one-night stand on your cruise ship.
Why's it got to be money involved there, Kathy?
I don't judge. I just know.
Why you got to bring prostitution in?
You got to have chemistry, okay? And chemistry. You find it in what? The first 3 minutes, right? The first 3 minutes. You could be at church. You could be at the grocery store. It's that DNA connection. So this is what I'm all about. But if you're not,
no, and that's fine.
If you want to be masculine, go ahead, run your company. But I just work with.
What's wrong with her running a company? I don't understand what her being successful has to do with finding.
No, she just turns him off. He doesn't want to be a girl.
Yeah,
It's the wrong guy for her.
Right, they're not compatible. Absolutely, that's it. They're not compatible.
There's nothing wrong there. You're not compatible. That's all.
The way I feel about it, and like I do have a lot of clients who are powerful women who have, high-paying jobs or who have, high profiles, things like that, and they do come to me and say that guys can't handle it. But my opinion is, you lead with relatability, and I would say that to anyone.
Right, it's what you say. It's how you communicate. It's not that you're sitting down a plane going, "Oh, I'm this high, whatever."
There are people that do that.
Right?
If you were a man, that
my wife out-earns me, but I chop wood and build furniture. So she gets the lumber sexual. And, she brings another aspect of it.
Plastic kahunas at the front door and doesn't bring them into the bedroom. They've got to negotiate. It's called amigo talk. You got to figure out which role are you. Don't give mixed messages. Which one do you want to be? The one that's cherished or the one that's respected?
Can it flow? What if all of a sudden all of my companies go
Absolutely. Then you do the relationship contract and you renegotiate time, space, money, and sex. We, and us. What do you want? It just avoids big confrontations. It's all good. Yeah, because when you get married, you make one contract, right? So then your husband or your wife loses the job. Now you go back and you renegotiate the money. There's money for your hair, your nails, your bath, whatever. Your money for the house, who's paying this, who's paying the insurance. There's people that are delusional. They think when you get married that, maybe some guy will pay for everything, but that's not happening with the people I know. So you negotiate those things. And if somebody loses their job, then you renegotiate. Maybe you cut back on getting your hair and nails done or whatever. So money, we money, us money. Us money is when you go on vacation. Who's paying, I'll pay for the hotel. Will you pay for it?
Do you do personally, and I'm just asking your personal opinion, do you think a relationship where a woman earns more money is gonna succeed as much as a man makes more money?
That's a good question.
Oh, wait, say that again slowly, please. I'm older than you. Go ahead. What?
Well, I was saying this.
Slowly.
In your opinion, can a relationship survive if the woman makes more money?
Absolutely. It's what they negotiate. If the guy's chopping wood and she's running a company, it's when they come home. Who's going to be in charge when they come home? If the guy likes making dinner, I know women, they make all the money and the guy makes the dinner. He cleans the house. He takes care of her mother, now with the elderly parents. And they get along lovely because that's what they negotiated. It's people that don't negotiate that get in trouble. They get resentful. They're in denial. Then finally they become indignant when they're ready to do something about it. I call that, the good anger.
Wait a minute. They're indignant. I thought you said they were in denial.
No. The 4 stages of anger.
First, you're in denial.
What?
Kathy.
I was making a stupid joke. Continue.
Yeah, we missed it. Sorry. We were being very serious for a moment. Wait, so do you think women can't have it all? They can't have both? They can't have...
They can have it all. Absolutely.
Well,
It's what they negotiate.
Yeah, who said they can't have it all?
Do you
know
really
what?
think
Listen.
they can have the great relationship, high-powered job,
Yes.
great mom,
Do
great
you
wife,
want to
great
get
worker?
laid more than paid? Do you want to get paid more than laid? What do you want to get paid and laid? You have a guy to lay, you have a guy that pays. If you want to get laid more than paid, bring money. If you want to get paid more than laid, keep your booty in shape.
I mean, ideally, what you look for in a partnership is, and I know this is all I'm going to say probably all night, is variety and balance. Like I look at my relationship with my husband. We are both, we both work in business. We are in similar kind of different roles, but similar levels. We both take care of the house. We're both, like even from like a sexual perspective, like people who are switches, people who are able to inhabit both roles. Like I can be a homemaker, I can be a business bitch, and he can be a homemaker, and he can be a business bitch.
I mean, that's literally what we have to do these days with the COVID. I have the 2 kids, so I'm upstairs discussing Yellow.
Yep.
And with two little girls. And then, like, wife comes up, old school Randy Macho Man Hulk Hogan, like, tag team. Like, I run downstairs, and then all of a sudden I'm on a Zoom, and, like, now I've decided, like, that if we're going to look at the weak ties of the things we come into every day. So, like, whoa, we got a code switch, like, immediately. And it's
beautiful. It's what you negotiate. There's 3 ways to communicate. You could intimidate people with fear, do it my way or else. You could seduce people with guilt, after all I've done for you. Or you can negotiate with love. And that's my specialty.
Well, that's exactly it's not you versus me. It's us versus the world, or us versus the problem. And sometimes when you differ in your approach to it, you have to remind yourself of that. And I'm guilty of it. As the next, I was telling, before we went live, like my kid's teacher got COVID 2 days ago. And so we're on a hard lockdown for 16 days. So we got that phone call. I had to come pick her up, and then we got home. And it's like, I was kind of like, the way that I deal with stuff, I cry and drink whiskey and then like move on to the next day. And so then that next day, it's like, whip out your day planners, like as we used to say back in the day, like, okay, wife.
Right.
Okay.
Hey, nobody's
what meetings are immovable? Which meetings are not movable?
On the worst day, are they 51% valuable? Are their assets more than their liabilities?
Yeah, and what do I hate less? Like, and then you just trade and work around it, and it's a dance. It's a dance.
Yes. It's a waltz. Yes.
Well, it's funny because I always remember my grandma saying, and I know Rochelle hears me talking about my grandma all the time because she had some of the best advice and the worst advice. I mean, a lot of her advice was very old-fashioned too, very outdated,
If you're ugly, learn to cook. Yeah.
Right. If you're ugly, learn to cook or wear makeup all the time. Well, that my mom
learn to give good blowjobs.
Learn to no, she would never talk about sex. In fact, I was telling my kids the other day, a while ago, I don't know why, but she would never say the word sex or intercourse or make love or anything. She would just she would always accuse me of having sex with my boyfriends, but it was like, you're living with him, aren't you? I'm like, nope, I'm living at home. But you're living with him, aren't you?
Living with him was her euphemism for, or her other word for sex. Okay, that's
right. So, but
that's a hard one.
I would be like, okay, I'm just gonna make her say it, but she would never say it. So I'd just say, no, Grandma, look, my room's right here upstairs. I live here. You know what I mean? Like, no, I don't. What do you mean? I don't live with him. I promise. I'm living here at home. She's like, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. But she would always tell my mom and sorry, I'm almost done. All of us. She's like, you women, you fight wrong. You fight wrong with your men. This is not how you fight. You go upstairs, you put on some dirty lingerie, and then you come downstairs, and as you're strip teasing for him, you ask him the things that you need him to do or want, while your boobs are in his face and you're very sensual and whatever. You can get away with anything. You can get anything. He'll buy you a new car tomorrow. Just go undress and then, dance for him or whatever.
Well, you could get away with anything if your boobs are in his face.
I guess.
But here's the thing. I would do that for me. Let's flip the script. I want a man
doing that. I agree.
Yeah, sure.
This isn't a turn on, Claire.
But like I think there's a point to which I agree to that. I think like that is sort of the you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, which is probably true. But honestly, like I don't know, and I'm gonna keep saying it all night. But I love my husband and I. We don't fight. We just sit and we talk. We don't go to bed angry, but I would say like the kind of like fight well is that we fight really analytically and we talk about our feelings. We're both people who've done a lot of therapy, so I think that's helpful. Like a person who has learned how to communicate
fight fairly. If you can fight fairly, you can fight.
Yeah.
But if you start calling each other idiots or stupid or slamming doors or throwing things or walking, I mean, I definitely understand walking away sometimes when you need to, but like leaving, leaving.
You guys never just have blown out arguments, just so mad you just throw shit out there.
Not really. Like we're just both very respectful, and we're fundamentally like we're on the same team. So yeah, do we say things that hurt each other in the moment? Absolutely. But
I'm a really bad person.
No, I think it's about respect, and once you lose that respect, it goes down from there, and it goes back to what
words you can say.
Communication.
Yeah, you can say something and lose someone's respect. Words hurt. People underestimate the power of words. But then it goes back to what shit, I lost my point. Never mind, go ahead.
Interrupt us when you remember.
Here's what I was going to say. It's an ego mind thing. On some level, it's a negotiation, like Cathy says, but it really purely is an ego mind thing. It's when it comes to fighting fairly or discussing, it's really about discussing what the issue is, what really bothers you, and discussing it reasonably without having why would you this? How come you that?
Bringing in things from the past, or
Yep. What's that? The loser communicator, condescending, abrupt, secretive, evasive.
The condescending comes in with the respect thing, and we talked a little bit about that like last time too.
Cathy, how much printer ink do you go through? Every 4 minutes you got another. You're like, there's another thing. Are you kidding them as we're talking? Like, I'll show these fuckers. I got some shit right here.
She's got a giant pile under her desk, and she's just waiting.
I'm currently being collated by Nietzsche, so it's really working out well for everybody right now.
Why am I the only one drinking? Every time she's pulling them out, okay, somebody else is drinking. Okay.
I'm getting some red cheeks right now. Let me. Just because we're all laughing right now, like, what is a pickup line or something that someone said to you that has worked, that you liked? Not necessarily that picked you up, but an approach that somebody said that you're like,
okay.
Nice.
No, I go first.
Yeah,
go. Sorry. I shouldn't be saying this. I have a big dick. No, I don't.
Hi. Yeah.
That's it. Hey. Let's go. No,
sometimes. What about you, Cathy?
20 years ago. I love a straightforward statement. And my favorite one is, I am hitting on you now. Because sometimes it's really hard to know. So, like, I think I'm a lot better with it with age, but this was when I was younger. And I have, when things are kind of ambiguous, it can be stressful. You can miss the moment. And I found it, granted, we were like, there was the vibe. So this was a guy who was able to say, there's a vibe here. I'm going to capitalize on it. But instead of...
He was confident. That whole thing about confidence. You walk in the room and you're the shit. You know it.
He didn't lean in with a kiss, but he said, like we were talking, and at a certain point, just hit the point where he's like, I'm hitting on you now. And I was like, well, then game.
Oh, nice. Okay. Please do.
Yeah, and if the answer was no, then the answer was no. But it's very attractive to see someone shoot their shot, be transparent, and also to they're not directly asking for consent, but they're saying, I'm shooting my shot. How do you feel about it?
I'm putting myself on stage.
Right. All right, Cathy, what about you?
Repeat the question again.
Someone that's come up to you, a pickup line or an approach or opener that you were like, nice.
You guys, I'm married 25 years. It's been a long time.
Somebody come up to you during that time. You don't have to move on it.
Well,
not like haha, but
well, you're like, good work. If I was in the market, you would win.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
No, okay, we'll come back to you, Rochelle.
I can't think of any.
Oh, come on. Not one. Okay, we'll come back to you, Lenny.
Well, you can tell it's the end of the show. This is where we really get into it, right?
Well, we're drinking.
After we start getting into it, obviously.
Right.
That's sort
Wait,
of the
so
point.
Lenny, has a girl ever come up and hit on?
Mine was, are you currently in the market for a temporary girlfriend?
Wow.
Temporary.
Happens when you're on a cruise ship and a traveling entertainer like I am, bounce around. I didn't have monogamous relationships. It was almost like a poly type, and especially on cruise ships, because sometimes on a cruise ship, it's hard. But this is true, and I know a lot of people hear that and think it's weird. If you're on a ship for me, it was like 2 or 3 weeks. Other people on a ship for like 3 months, and they'll meet someone, and they'll go, "Why don't we just pair up for like 3 months?" Or if I'm on for 2 or 3 weeks, we'll hang out for 2 or 3 weeks, and then go your separate ways. And we'll stay in touch. I still stay in touch with many of.
I'm a theater boy, all of my theater friends. Like I went to the University of Miami, so all the Florida people were on cruise ships all the time. Like, it's a matter of. But again, like what Cathy said,
you know what it's about? It's about it's exactly what Cathy said. It's about negotiation. You have to understand and
all human beings with wants and needs.
And you accept it too. It's not like once you go your separate ways, you're calling someone in 3 days going, "Who are you with?" That was never an issue.
Right.
Okay, I remember now. I was on an airplane coming from Italy. Okay, and this guy came up to me and he says, "Hey," I was sitting in coach. He was in first class. He says, "You want to come up and sit with me?" He says, "There's an extra seat." This is back in the day. And I'm like, wow, go up and sit in first class. I'm not going to turn that down. It was an international flight. So I go up there.
I wouldn't have done that if a guy came up to me and asked that on an international flight.
You got to
sure, man. Yeah, sure. 10-hour flight.
We're sitting there and we're having this, fun time. And we get off the plane and his girlfriend's there with all these balloons welcoming him.
Wow.
And
that is an example of the cruise ship. Just even more extreme. Are you in the market for a temporary boyfriend? Let's say from Italy to 8
hours,
New York, wherever we're touching down. It's just a very temporary situation. Granted, in that world, it was not as transparent. But it sounds like everybody here. It's just like when you shoot your shot, when you put yourself out on the line, when you say, "Hey, this is happening," people respond.
Mine was completely nonverbal. I was sitting at a bar, like the bar behind me, kind of when you turn your bar stools around so you can just look at the rest of the bar. Had one of my female friends sitting next to me. We were just at the bar hanging out. This girl walks by, sees me, looks at me, smiles, and sits down on my lap. I look at my girlfriend that's sitting next to me, and I'm
wow.
And she's like kind of like that. Oh my God, he's going to be incorrigible after this. And it's like, at this point, it's like, okay, look, I know I didn't do anything. I got chosen. Some nights you just get chosen and your job is to not fuck it up. But exactly to your point, Claire, somebody said something authentic. Mm-hmm. Somebody put it out there.
That's a little much. I mean,
some people scratch sometimes. She was like 22,
Yeah. But I don't know. I would have been afraid to have the girlfriend come after me or something. But
no, not girlfriend, female friend.
But
what did you pick up people? We were both hunting. It was just like, yeah, I got a witness. I didn't have to do anything. So it's like I got to have her see me.
I was never that person.
But I didn't value it because I didn't put any effort into it. It was fine. It was a fun night. It
was good for your ego.
Yeah, how could you not value that?
My ego is
Yeah, well, I think
yes, of course it is. Of course
that happens to me. I'm telling everybody, by the way.
I know, right? I think sometimes it's a lot easier for men. Not sometimes. I think most of the times it's a lot easier for men. I do agree that it's harder for them when they try to pick up on women. And what I tell people is just go and say hello. I mean, really, that's all you need.
What I said. If someone asked me on Clubhouse, in one of those rooms, what's the best pickup line or what is the best approach? I'm like, when I used to take whatever, I would tell them to give me any non sequitur sentence. And I would use that sentence as my approach with them next to me so that they could hear it and see it to prove that it didn't mean anything. But the point was I had found in all of the pickup lines and things that we've done, when I was single, if you just walk up to someone and you're like, hey, you look really interesting. My name's Hunt. I'd really like to meet you. Like, most likely, people are going to be like, thank you. I would very much like to talk to you because people are weird. And if you're a good, solid normal, you're way ahead of
it's all about
like the
confidence.
situation we talked about last week, the girl at the bar who ended up being really drunk that I didn't know about. When I walked up to her and just said, hi, I'm Lenny. At first, I asked the guy she was with. I go, I don't want to be rude. But when she went to the restaurant, I'm like, are you guys on a date? Because I don't want to be an ass and step in here. But I'm going to ask for a phone.
He was like, thank you. No.
Take her.
I didn't realize how happy he was. I was like, I wonder why he's so happy about this. This is weird.
That's a warning sign.
20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Claire, basically, he was on a first date and she was trashed and he didn't know it. So the guy like peaced out and left the trash girl with Lenny.
And that's one way to do it. I mean, it's a good thing that Lenny's a good guy because in the wrong circumstances, your hands off for when you're with a drunk woman might not be a good call, but in this case it worked out, so that's good.
Lenny, I bet if somebody walked up to you right now after you came off of like a playground or the park or something and just walked up and said, you look like a really good father.
Well, I hope Lenny's not at a playground. His kids are, like in high school, and I really hope he's not running around playgrounds.
I'm not allowed in playgrounds anymore.
Maybe they're picking up boys at the playground. I don't know what the kids do these days.
But Lenny, your daughters, you're their first love affair. Just remember that.
Yeah, I know. I hear it from them all the time. They literally won't let me. They don't want me to date. They give me this all the time. They let their mom date. I do jokes about it in my act, but I go. And I thought they were kidding. And I go to Anna. I go, so are you? I go, you're kidding about the dating thing, right? She goes, no, Dad. There's no reason really for you to be dating anyone right now.
That's such a double standard. Why? What is their reasoning?
So cute because they're in love.
What is their reasoning for that?
Yeah, but I don't. I'm also aware of the fact that I resemble. You know what I mean? Like I always try to be good. Having daughters is almost like payback for me because I grew up with boys and brothers, and I looked at the world differently. Things that.
How many brothers?
How old are they?
No. How many brothers did you grow up with?
4. I have 4 younger brothers.
Wow.
I'm 3 brothers and now I have 2 daughters, so somewhat similar, but you still had more brothers.
Same thing, but I never was aware.
I want to hear the reason why they don't want you to date. Like, what is their reason behind saying that?
They never really get to the reason. They don't want me to be happy. That's what I always ask.
I can tell you exactly why.
No, I want to hear from them. Like, I really want to know why.
They've only met one person I was dating. One.
And they didn't like her?
Well, no, they did kind of like her, but then we broke up afterwards. And I also wasn't a really big fan of introducing my kids to every person I go out with. You know what I mean?
That's
that's only one. So I waited.
If the mom gets to date and be happy, why shouldn't you be happy, right? Like,
I don't know. I ask them all. Look, they control the house here, Julia. I don't do anything.
I'm like really adamant.
Trying to get out of here so they can be
emotionally perfectly stable.
Yeah, I was in Vegas for a week. I felt like a grown up again. It was fucking awesome. It was great.
Isn't that amazing? I know. I can't wait for all the kids.
This right here is my safe space. Work now is my vacation. Because we're going back and forth and trading off the parenting stuff,
Yeah.
As a person during COVID, I've, like my dog and my cat, they're great. But it is, I don't know what the future holds for me in terms of kids, but at least right now, it has been fascinating to see my friends who have kids versus me. It is a different lifestyle. And definitely, like my clients who have kids who are trying to date.
I don't mind. I mean, a little bit there's definitely maybe more breakdowns, but I have stimuli. One, for an extrovert, which is important, but 2, I imagine, and not saying because you have at least somebody to bounce something off of and stuff, but I imagine people in the New York City studio apartments on the 15th floor of a building that they have to walk through a gauntlet of disease to get outside. That's a sensory deprivation chamber. That's solitary confinement, which is under the Geneva Convention considered a war crime. So I get that's worse than that's why people are braving death. That's why they're going out. I get it. So I also find that interesting too, because I'm going crazy. I was on my knees crying and drinking whiskey, but this morning I got to get tackled by 2 lovely daughters. So
It's
Well, it's a great blessing to actually have. How old are your kids, Hunt? They're young, right?
3 and almost 1.
Yeah. I don't know how. First of all, kudos to you. I don't know how anybody with little kids is surviving right now.
Breakdowns up. Breakdowns up.
Yeah. It's got to be a handful. Yeah. This last year's got to be brutal for 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds. But the thing, I look at it this way, like I've been traveling most of the last, 10, 15 years hard. I've been gone on long runs, 2-3 months at a time. And for the last year, my teenage daughters are here. That's been great. I always say that's one of the good things about COVID was I got to be not only hanging with my
daughter's life.
My daughters who were kind of distant going in are like best friends now, and that's even a better thing to see for me. I'm like, that's cool.
I think I understand. I think what your daughters want, they just want you, and they don't want you to take your attention away from anyone else.
I agree, and that makes sense, and that's I think that's part of the reason maybe I don't look for a monogamous relationship. I don't really know, or a serious relationship. But though I got to be honest with you, I haven't met anyone yet. I'm a really big believer in knowing yourself and being present and being there. And I've met one person that I'm like, oh, I could see dating her. I could see that becoming a thing, and me just dating her. But I haven't met anyone else like that. So I think
the dynamics will totally change how they feel. So it's the dynamics that will change, and they don't want that.
Right. Yeah. And I think because like you said, you were not there. You were gone a lot. And now they have you all to yourself. Yeah. And it's as they get older, I'm sure, because your oldest is how old now?
I'm 56.
No, you're oldest.
What?
How old's your daughter?
Okay, what? Huh?
I'm muting people. I'm going to start muting people. How old your oldest, your daughter? How old is she?
She's 56. And no, she's 19, and Aunt Lily's going to be 17 in a month. Okay.
So if you don't have that much to go. So I get it. I understand why they say that. And you're not really in the market to be with anyone right now. You don't feel like you should be.
Let me ask you a question, Lenny.
Wait, Hunt, let me finish your word. Get down there. I'm gonna mute you.
Wow.
I swear to God. This guy, stop drinking. I'll let you know when you can speak.
I'm crushing your head.
Dude,
Wow, I haven't heard of, was that the state?
I forgot.
It's in the hall. That's Canada. That's right.
I was like, I know this.
I share a timeshare with Mark McKinney. It's very exciting.
Tell him that we crushed a little head.
He used to come into a barbecue place I helped run in Venice for years, and we used to talk all the time. They're great guys.
I have no idea what that is.
Love that.
The Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the Hall. Look it up. It's awesome. It's classic. It's
I think they're on HBO. I think you'll find them. They're a Lorne Michaels show, but it's a sketch show. It's sketch comedy. It's brilliant.
Nice.
Saturday Night Live type stuff or Chappelle show.
Lenny, I have a question for you. Do you have a list of all the things you want in a woman?
That's my question is when this woman exists.
Oh my gosh, hi.
My question is?
That's it. He's muted. Go.
Did you really mute him?
That's it.
He's gonna give
nothing around.
He's gonna give himself an aneurysm. He's gonna give himself an aneurysm. I didn't write down a list. I didn't write down a list. You know what I mean?
Make a list of everything you want in a woman. I mean,
I know they are. I don't feel like I got to write them down. You know what I mean?
What? You got to put it out in the universe, though.
Oh yeah, you're right to manifest. Okay, I see what you're saying.
I mean, here's the thing, and this is the thing I just have with a lot of would-be clients or a lot of clients who come to me for like 1 or 2 coaching sessions. You kind of know when you're ready. You know when it's the right time for you. And I mean, COVID, being at home with your kids, having a job where under normal circumstances you're traveling a lot, maybe now is not the time. When it's the time, like not to say when it's the time you'll know, like it's this big cosmic secret. But
thing, right.
Yeah. Like even
I know examples when I got married, even though I got divorced. When I got married, I knew it was the time. When I had kids, I knew I wanted to have kids. It wasn't like maybe, sort of, should we try, or a surprise. I just felt like I was ready. You know what I mean?
Wait, and so you need to tell me people have...
Don't make me mute you, Julia.
I was just going to say, you tell me people actually have kids. It's the right time. I guess I was the only one that had kids because I was bored. I don't know. I thought that was the norm.
I was lucky. I know other people, it's other ways, but we literally planned. We said, you know what, let's have kids. And then my wife, when she wanted to get pregnant, man, she was, the second she came off the pill, she were like, oh, you're there. Okay, that was quick. That was like a day.
We're having children.
Yeah, and she always knew. And this is funny. She always smelled different when she was pregnant. Like there was a thing about her aroma that I knew she was pregnant. So the first time I caught it, I go, "Oh my God, you're different." And the second time, I'm like, "Oh my God, you're pregnant." And like I knew it. Yeah.
Wait,
Like,
she smelled different, or she? Oh,
no,
wow.
she smelled different. There was something about her I could tell that was smelled.
So.
And her sense of smell also was ultra fucking. I couldn't have coffee. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where I could cook onions in the morning, and she'd come home for dinner at night, and she's like, "Did you cook?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize." She was really. I didn't make coffee in the courtyard. Like I would bring my coffee pot outside and make coffee.
I remember that.
That's so funny.
But that's how she was. You know, that's just we could tell like that when she was pregnant. But we knew. Like I said, the whole point was we were lucky. We also had what I thought was really cool. We had 5 or 6 years, even though we were divorced, 5 or 6 years that we were married, living in the city of Chicago. That were great years as a couple. Those were awesome. Just hanging. She was a bartender. I worked the road. I'd come home. I would MC in Chicago and do some acting work in Chicago. We'd hang out in the bars. We'd go out to dinner. I mean, it was just 5 years of a couple hanging out in the city. It was a blast. It was really, really lucky.
You know, it's so funny. I was just thinking as you're talking about that and talking about your life and your ex. Do you remember one of the first things I asked you when we met about comedy? Because I had all these questions about comedy, right?
Yeah.
Because I was writing, and I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to do stand-up. I still don't think I'm ever going to do stand-up. I don't think I could physically. Probably going to vomit on stage. But do you remember the first? I will. You know, one of the first questions I asked.
I'm saying it's. And so what? You just go yes and, right?
Yeah. But remember, one of my first questions to you was because you were talking about your ex, you were talking about, you know, your family and in-laws and everything. I remember I was like, I think I asked you that, like, how do you get permission to talk about people? How do you, and you're like, you don't get permission. Like, do you ever ask her, like, is it okay if I talk about these things on stage?
Yeah, I do. Other guys don't do that, but I've always followed this rule pretty strictly with friends and family, especially my wife and my kids, even for that matter. If I write a joke or a bit about you, I run it by you, and you tell me what you think about it. And if you don't like it, I won't do it. And one thing that works for me also is my stuff, even when I got divorced, my stuff wasn't offensive. My fucking ex, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's a lot of anger in what I did, but I purposely didn't throw her under the bus and make fun of her in front of people because I didn't think that was appropriate. My comedy it's not attacking to the point where you would be offended. Like Howard Stern said shit for years. He regrets talking about his daughters growing up, and he looks back at it now. I can't believe I did that, but
I bet you Louis C.K. does as well.
Hey, what?
I bet you Louis C.K. does regret kind of talking about his daughters as well too.
I think he might later because like him and I, our careers, our personas followed a certain.
I was going to say your looks and your ages and your personas.
Well, we also have 2 daughters. We also got married around the same time, divorced around the same time. There's a lot of things. We worked the same clubs for a long time. And then he went on to superstardom, got his own show and all that other shit. And I went on
touching people or touching themselves.
That route as well.
See, maybe if you did that, then
daughters, I think he'll really feel. I think he'll feel upset about it because there's a lot of stuff I've seen where like I would never say that about my daughter. I would never do that. And I'm real careful, especially with the girls, because here's the other thing: in this day and age, they can go online and they can find anything I'm doing. And they've caught me a couple times saying words like I said the C word in the show once. And Anna was like, I saw you said the C word. I'm like, wow, already? That was like a day ago. How did you find that online somewhere? And there was a bigger so I don't want them to go online and see something that they'd be embarrassed by. I don't want their friends to go online and have fuel that they can pick on my daughters with. And just as importantly, I don't want to bag on my ex-wife. So my daughters, her daughter can go online and see their father making fun of. So I've always been aware of those things. Other comics aren't though. Other comics say whatever the fuck they want. I've never agreed with that. I have a couple of friends who are like, dude, I'm on stage. I just let go. And I don't agree with that philosophy. I know other guys make a lot of money doing it.
There's probably a reason why they were divorced then.
Yeah, I guess. I've seen some guys say some pretty shitty things on stage where I'm like, God, dude, why would you do that? Why? But everybody's got their own path and their own their own pattern. But, you know, then their personal, no comic has a decent personal relationship life. You know what I mean? We all have weird chaos going on in our lives. We're just, you know, we have a lot of that.
Plus time was it pain plus time equals comedy?
Pain plus time equals comedy. Yeah, absolutely, bro. That's it. That's the formula.
Where you get it from, the misery comes the comedy, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
All comedy's based in, they think it's based in funny. It's not. Almost all comedy's based in anger and pain. And then it's turned and translated into jokes later, because that's how comics deal with it, and that's why people laugh at it, because you can associate.
And which is why there's like a huge, large comedy, like especially the roast in the Judaic community, because it's a way of dealing with pain, right, Julia? Is that
unless I call my dog a Nazi, then I get a lecture from Hunt.
Well, you said it's my Nazi lab. I thought you were in Germany and were fucking treasure hunting and found some weird Hitler shit. I didn't realize you were saying you have a German Shepherd Labradoodle mix.
In the one day that I have done a video,
I was like,
it's a running joke. It's the running joke in our family that, because I always said I'm never going to get a German Shepherd ever, as long as I live, because we've got such a thing with German Shepherds. I mean, my grandma would see a dog that even slightly resembled a German Shepherd. She would cross the street.
I had Hasids in Brooklyn try to kick him.
I am muting you now. Let me finish. Stop mansplaining or whatever you're doing. Is that what it is?
It's not always mansplaining if a man does it. It's interesting.
I don't know what the hell he's doing. Anyway, my point is, he's going to start writing notes and putting it on the screen. My point is, I always
like, Cathy, what printer do you have? Let Hunt know so he can print out some
typing. He's going to start typing. So anyway, I hated German Shepherds. I was always scared of them. I've always known people that gotten bitten by them. My grandma used to say that, you know, they've always bred them, and they still breed them to attack Jews. They know, they smell a Jew from a mile away. And it kind of stuck in my head, because when somebody repeats that stuff.
Who told you this? The grandmother?
Yeah, but she survived the Holocaust. She had the German Shepherds, you know.
Is this your grandmother that gave you the advice about the boobs in the face when you wanted to go? Okay, just curious.
She's the same one that would like put urine all over us if we had a burn or whatever. So yeah. Anyway, I always tell my kids, I will never get a German Shepherd, but we found her, and she was a lab and a German Shepherd. The only thing she has of the German Shepherd is the tail. I mean, literally, she doesn't look like a German Shepherd, but I still, once in a while, I'll be like, come, Nazi, let's go, come get my Nazi dog. So I posted that, and cunt went off on me. I'm like, don't worry, it's all cool. People know. They know my dog. They know. Okay, I'm unmuting you. So that was the whole thing. When I wrote my book.
Sure. But to your exact point, when I worked for doggy daycare in Williamsburg, which you know is a high Hasidic population. And when I had been walking dogs across the street and had some Hasids try to kick the dog because of that deep-seated fear, 100%. Absolutely. Like, I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah. But
how did we get onto dogs? Were we talking about relationships?
What's the matter? You got no phrases for dogs, Cathy? You got no slogans or anything?
Anyway, my point is, I was going to say, you guys, as we start to wrap up, I just realized it's 7:30. So
or 10:30.
Or 10:30.
That's right, East Coast. Right on.
Right, East Coast. Sorry. Any last minute advice for single people, dating people, relationships? Cathy, any bits of wisdom you want to share?
You know what? Take a risk, but know what the prize and the price tag is for taking a risk with someone. And don't be intoxicated if you can.
How do you feel about sex on the first date? I want to hear about this.
You know what? It's whatever you negotiate. I don't judge people. I'm not a moralist. I just teach communication tools and strategies. And whatever you negotiate, you know what the prize is and you know what the price tag is.
Exactly.
You were so good.
Yeah, like if you know you're gonna feel really bad after a first date if you have sex and they don't call, then maybe don't do it. If you know that you'll be okay with that, like you said, it's the price and the price tag.
You got to know yourself and how you will feel. Yeah, after you got to.
Hunt is actually muting himself now. Are you watching that?
Is he?
That's the third time. He's like,
My piece of advice is actually about dogs. So I got to say, I am a human matchmaker. I'm also a dog matchmaker. I volunteer with you as an adoption coordinator. My dog, she's the angel of my life. She has had cancer twice. She actually just had her last dose of chemo, second time. So fingers crossed. But my thing is right now during the pandemic is it is a golden time. If you are living home, if you are working from home and you are bored and you are sad, foster a dog. You can do foster to adopt, which means you have first right of refusal if you want to adopt your dog after you fostered it for a while. And the chance you get to go outside is to walk that dog. And in happier days when we, I'm depending on where you are, depending on what COVID stats are, we're hoping that maybe by the summer things will be kind of okay. The best way to meet people is at the dog park. I met such wonderful friends there, and I have known so many people who hook up because their dogs go and it's like 101 Dalmatians. They get all tangled up. Or, you say, that dog's really cute. This is my dog, Rufus, and then Rufus and your dog are friends. And then it's such a good way to meet people. And time again with my online dating clients, if they have a photo of themselves with a dog, not necessarily their header photo, but another one, and they can actually say in their little bio something about this is my rescue dog, or this is my dog that I'm fostering, it just telegraphs that you're a good person, and people they
get more responsive too. That's what I tell my clients that I'm doing online dating with. If you have pets, put them out there. You get so many more responses. People will message you just to know about your dog. And it's a good icebreaker to start the message, because a lot of times people don't know. What do you say? What's the first thing I say? Ask him about that beautiful dog. How long have you had him? Where did you get him? Yeah, that's good. Rochelle, you got any tips, wisdom, advice?
No, I would just say be yourself and be comfortable with who you are.
I love that. Yeah. Lenny?
Yeah, it's not that difficult. Be honest. Be honest. Be honest about yourself. Be honest to the person you're talking to, and be honest when you're negotiating. Because when you discuss what you want to do, what you want to give, or what you're willing to give in a relationship, it's very important to be honest about it. If you're honest about everything, it makes life a lot simpler.
So much. Yes. Hunt, the last word. Oh, shut up.
I really appreciate you being here, and I do need muting sometimes. My wife says the same thing. I hope you understand this, because this is the most passionate thing that I have in life. And I really because I hear someone say something, I'm like, yes, so much. Let me bring in 17 scientific studies that can prove your point. And I need to relax on that. So, but thank you. Everyone's making the right points, and there's catfishing and there's kitten fishing. Kitten fishing is shaving 5 pounds or adding an inch, right? Okay, that, I get it. That's okay. We're trying to put our best self forward. We're trying to showcase ourselves. Who you are, there's someone looking for it. The more you disguise it, the harder it's going to be to find that person. We were just discussing with a client today that's over 70 of taking photographs and discussing between scoop neck and cut neck. And we're saying cut neck because it doesn't matter what is there. The man just wants to see it. Let's see a little bit of skin. It's a 70-year-old woman. He's going to understand it. But when you start hiding things, then it creates secrets. Like you said, Kathy, secrets, right? So the closer you can be to yourself, the quicker you're going to find the person that's going to complement you the best.
Mm-hmm. Right. I agree. I think being yourself is the biggest thing. That is always my advice to people. So, and on that note, thank you guys so much. This was great. And I loved everybody's advice. Thank you, Rochelle, for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to meet you, Rochelle.
And Claire, thanks for joining us today. And we'll do it again soon. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Have
a good weekend.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.